On Friday, July 20th, Disney severed all ties with James Gunn over the resurfacing of some tweets of highly dubious content. I have previously explained Disney's reasons and motivations from a business point of view for doing that so swiftly and so decisively. However, there is more to this story than just Disney's point of view and subsequent actions. In the week since his firing, James Gunn has received an outpouring of support from both fans and celebrities alike. While no one are excusing the controversial tweets themselves, many point out that they were made a long time ago, that James Gunn is a changed man now, much thanks to working with Marvel, and above all, that the offending tweets were used in a deliberate, politically motivated attack on James Gunn. In this video, I will first look into the support James Gunn has received so far, the political background for attacking him and other personalities whose political sympathies lean left, and finally, if there is any chance James Gunn could be rehired. As I've previously covered, Disney does tolerate filmmakers, whether they're working for Disney directly or one of their subsidiaries like Marvel, to express their personal opinions on a range of topics, up to a certain point. James Gunn's resurfaced tweets contain the subject matter so far beyond that point, and so far from what Disney stands for today, regardless of which dubious attitudes Walt Disney himself may have held back in the day, that once those tweets hit the limelight, a summary firing was their way of publicly demonstrating how not okay they are with the comments at hand. And they've done this before. On May 29th, Disney subsidiary ABC cancelled the Roseanne revival after just one season. The background for that was that on Twitter, vocal Trump supporter Roseanne Barr had referred to former Obama aide Valerie Jarrett as looking like the offspring of the, quote, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. Barr would go on to state that the tweet was actually about the anti-Semitism of the Iran deal, as the Rod Serling written Planet of the Apes was a metaphor for anti-Semitism, and she didn't even know Valerie Jarrett was black at the time of making the tweet. If anyone that mattered even listened to her explanation, however poorly thought through it may have been, they didn't care. ABC Entertainment President Channing Dungey stated that Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values, and we have decided to cancel her show. Disney chairman and CEO Bob Iger commented on the cancellation, tweeting, "There was only one thing to do here, and that was the right thing." As many have pointed out, James Gunn himself was one of those all in favor of Roseanne being cancelled over Roseanne Barr's tweet. Disney is nothing if not consistent, for not 2 months later, James Gunn was fired over the resurfacing of his own poorly thought through tweets. For the record, there is nothing to suggest that Gunn actually is a pedophile, or a rapist, or otherwise have actually acted out of order in any way. There have been no allegations directed at him, no Me Too stories about him, and for what it's worth, the owners of Oreo, the raccoon they modeled Rocket on, have had nothing but the highest praise for him either. When the tweets were made, he was just a dumb kid. Well, actually, a dumb 40-something, who really should have known better than sharing innocuous but borderline videos sent to him by Houston Huddleston, who years later would be convicted of possession of actual child pornography. And James Gunn did it all in the name of trying to get some attention for himself by stirring up some controversy. Well, he certainly achieved that, so yay, great success. Just probably not the way he pictured. Just like with Roseanne Barr's tweet before, if anyone that mattered even considered the context of Gunn's more controversial tweets, they didn't care. Gunn was fired. You can't really fault Disney for it. They acted as swiftly as they did to protect their brand from the outrage of public opinion. But in addition to outrage, which there has been a lot of, James Gunn has also received an outpouring of sympathy, with many from both sides of the political spectrum calling for him to be rehired. Among the first to express their sympathies with Gunn were his chosen Guardians of the Galaxy. Dave Bautista expressed strong support right out the gate. Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana were also supportive, albeit a bit more measured. perhaps not wanting to express too much support for someone who just got fired over joking with pedophilia. Remember, this was still early days, and they did not yet know how the rest of society would react. As it happened, the emerging consensus among the media was that while the jokes themselves were inexcusable, they were made a long time ago, and Gunn had made considerable personal growth since then. Even the ladies of The View were supportive, and so was Ben Shapiro, despite James Gunn being one of his critics. Many were of the opinion that firing Gunn now, while justified from Disney's point of view, sent a bad signal where learning from one's mistakes is concerned. Also, many pointed out that Gunn was the subject of a political attack, with perhaps Jim Starlin, creator of Thanos, going the furthest, saying, among other things, that "I've come to the conclusion that the mouse got played," and the whole uproar was plainly ginned up by two Breitbart hatchetmen, and Disney made one hell of a bad call. Nothing was fabricated to get James Gunn fired. James Gunn himself did post the offending tweets, and they were there for anyone willing to look for them to find. But the ones that did the looking were conservative or alt-right, depending on who you ask. News outlet The Daily Caller, and the tweets were republished by Mike Cernovich, another alt-right figure of Pizzagate fame. There is a backstory here, one that influences current events. Roseanne Barr isn't the only conservative to have gotten fired over tweets. There have even been instances of journalists going through the past tweets of outspoken conservatives for the purpose of finding something which would spark a public outcry, which resulted in them being fired for past, less than politically correct statements. However, making statements which are not in line with what is considered politically correct is not a uniquely conservative feature. Quite the contrary, plenty of even the most virtue-signaling of liberals are guilty of that too. So in late 2017, Mike Cernovich announced his intention of getting his ideological opponents fired, more or less by holding them to the same standards they judged conservatives against. Several left-leaning personalities and outspoken Trump critics have had their own skeletons in the closet exposed this way, not just by Cernovich, but by others inspired by him as well. In the days after James Gunn got fired, Dan Harmon, the creator of Rick and Morty and host of the Harmontown podcast, deleted his Twitter account and had to apologize after an old sketch in which he appears to rape a baby doll resurfaced. Something else which resurfaced was a 2013 stand-up skit by talk show host Trevor Noah, in which he was making racist jokes at the expense of Australian Aboriginal women. This did not go down well in the Australian Aboriginal community in general, and among Aboriginal women in particular, several of whom are now calling for Noah's upcoming Australian tour to be boycotted. There probably will be more examples to follow suit, as there apparently is a hit list of left-leaning entertainment personalities whose alleged double standards the alt-right wants the world to see. Fearing to be on this list, Rian Johnson, director of Star Wars The Last Jedi, took preemptive measures and deleted no less than 20,000 tweets. He made it clear he had not been instructed to do so, but after 9 years of tweeting off the cuff, he wanted to preemptively destroy any ammunition any trolls could dig up to ruin his career, which is understandable, but it certainly doesn't look good. I think many more entertainment personalities will be spooked and delete a large share of their past tweets, and be a lot more careful with what they put down in writing going forward. This is of course good for the individuals who won't get busted over saying stupid shit. But if you consider the principle of the matter, it does mean that freedom of speech has taken yet another step backwards. The ones to blame for that aren't the alt-right. They merely give what has already been stated renewed attention. The real problem here is the outrage culture and the emotional court of public opinion. The fear of those is ultimately why companies like Disney fire someone over bygone tweets. My biggest hope here is that at least some of the loudest voices in that outrage culture and court of public opinion will recognize that their ire is so predictable and so reliable that it can be manipulated and used as a political tool to harm the people they otherwise would not want to harm. My hope is that these loud and shrieking voices will recognize that society will be better off if they soften their stance. But how does that help James Gunn and Marvel here and now? More or less all of those supportive of Gunn have made it clear that they wish him to be rehired. A Change.org petition set up to that effect has even gotten more than 300,000 signatures in a matter of days. So is there any chance Disney will rehire him? It's a pickle for Disney. They already fired him, so they would lose face by going back on that. And for all the people that do want to see Gunn rehired, there is also a large chunk of people that would rather see him remain fired, and accuse Disney of political bias if they rehire Gunn, but not Roseanne. So, what is Disney to do? In a normal situation, Gunn would remain fired, if for no other reason than that Disney fired him, and there is no going back on that. In this situation though, I do believe it is within the realm of possibility that he can come back. In this situation, it isn't just that the fans want him back, that means very little, but the industry wants him back as well. Writers, celebrities, journalists and filmmakers, people Disney rely on being on good terms with, want him back. That matters. That kind of public support, combined with how Disney already distanced themselves from his offending tweets, now means they are positioned for looking like the bigger company by letting Gunn back, setting the stage for a redemption story like no other. Or they could say that they won't back down from a decision once it's made, and start looking for Gunn's replacement. At this stage, both could happen. What would you like them to do, and what do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments.
If you like this video, then please click the subscribe button. And don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified for all the latest uploaded content. Due to recent changes to YouTube's monetization policies, we'd also like to ask you to please consider supporting Midnight's Edge and its sister channel Midnight's Edge After Dark through Patreon. As thanks for their support, patrons will receive early notifications of mini documentaries, special behind the scenes making of the Edge videos, bloopers, outtakes, lost episodes, and more. You can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. Be sure to check back for news and analysis on the corporate politics behind your favorite genre movies, as well as updates and discussion here at Midnight's Edge.